Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Homo FOMO. We are not a spoiler-free podcast, but we're not cruel. So if you hate spoilers, know there is a strong potential we could reveal info about the media we discuss that could give away endings or major plot twists. You've been warned. Now we hope you enjoy the show. We test the microphone. There we go.
Oh yeah, my signature laugh spikes.
We have to start with your laugh every time.
It's not hard.
Okay. Hello everyone. And welcome to Homo FOMO, the podcast where we take a look at movies and television and sometimes other media and decide what could be gayer.
Yeah.
I am your co-host, Emma.
And I am your co-host, Kai. And in this particular case, you can call me Kylo Ren, because we're going to be discussing Star Wars! Which, I don't know why we're so excited. We're actually dreading this episode because Emma had the brilliant idea of watching it in chronological order.
Which I did fuck up, because I didn't watch Rogue One before I watched A New Hope.
Oh, man.
So I really fucked that up.
Well, your heart was in it. It's the thought that counts.
Thank you. So, since we kind of watched this in chronological order, that means we're starting at ground zero.
Uh-huh.
JK. The prequels, which is episode 1, 2, and 3.
The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith.
There we go. We're getting this one out of the way now, because...
Oh boy.
This fucking sucked.
Okay. I would like to interject here that I have nostalgia glasses when it comes to the prequels, because unlike every other person on Earth, when I was a child, my parents showed me A Phantom Menace first, and I really liked it, and then Attack of the Clones came out, and I liked it even more, and then Revenge of the Sith came out, and I was very sad, and then they showed me the original trilogy. So it wasn't until post-2005 that I had even seen the original trilogy, and therefore, I just consider the prequels the first Star Wars movies anyway. And that's an opinion no one has. So...
But it's correct.
I guess. As a result of that nostalgia, there are a few things I like about the original trilogy, or not the original trilogy, the prequels. I remembered liking A Phantom Menace much more than I actually did this go around.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm being honest, I actually did watch A Phantom Menace in full like 2 months before you asked me to do this marathon.
Oh.
Yeah, and I fully enjoyed it. But having to watch it without taking breaks was a different experience, as it turns out.
Yeah, so it was my idea. I kind of was like, I don't know. I had this weird whisper, this strange, a phantom itch, if you will. Not a menace, but something. Anyway, there was a joke there. I missed it. It's fine. We're moving on. But I basically just was like, had this like weird urge to watch Star Wars. I think it was probably after we did your episode of like 10 movies to know me.
Right, and I just couldn't stop talking about Force Awakens.
Which, understandable. But I just was like, shot off this text message to Kai being like, let's marathon all of Star Wars. A choice. So we had a sleepover in which we conquered episodes 1, 2, and 3 and A New Hope. Mm-hmm. We did not get past A New Hope. Ladies, gentlemen, and all folks of every creed, everywhere.
Every gender.
I like creed. I don't.
Okay,
I
great.
prefer creed over gender. Great movie. I actually haven't seen it, so I can't recommend it. But anyway, I can't tell you how much time it takes to watch just the first 3 films. It was so much.
I don't know what we thought. I don't know how much time we thought it was going to take, but it took longer. Spiritually, even.
Oh my god. The spiritual journey of watching all of the prequels in one sitting was a fucking nightmare. We almost didn't make it out of that one alive.
I mean, just to explain to you the gravity of how I felt, we were not all that far into A Phantom Menace before Emma wanted to get up to, like, make food. And I told her, I said, can you pause this because I don't want to do this alone?
You wouldn't let me.
I wouldn't let her just leave during part of the movie because that was cheating.
It was cheating. And I was trying to cheat because I played dirty. Okay, so before we belagor the agony, beleaguer, whatever, don't at me. Belabor.
Ourselves?
The agony of what it was like to just sit down and watch the prequels all in a less than 24-hour span.
Why did we do it?
Let's just get into episode 1.
Yeah, and before that,
oh, thank you.
I want to mention we did this to ourselves because our personal journey. We want to know who is the gayest character in Star Wars, and who do we see ourselves in these movies? Yes,
which would mean that there's an inherent queerness in the characters we see ourselves within.
Yeah,
that reflect us. Yeah, so probably we're going to break this down into episodes. We're going to do the prequels first, then we will move on to the original Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then of course we will do with the sequels, and then we're also going to do a fun episode on Rogue One, Solo, and possibly The Mandalorian, I'm so excited about that. So yeah, ultimately, we want to find the gayest character in all of Star Wars, but at the end of this episode, we will identify the gayest character in the prequels.
Yes.
So, episode 1.
Okay.
The Phantom Menace.
I think your notes best display how we start this movie, in which your first note is just, we start with a racist accent.
Yeah.
George Lucas, come the fuck on. Like, I don't know why I would expect better from this man. Which is a funny thing about Star Wars, is how much so many Star Wars fans hate George Lucas.
I know. We hate the biting the hand that feeds. Shout out to Nax, our friend who has a podcast that's similar to this.
Yes, but, George Lucas doesn't so much feed as he, I don't know, like, barfs out content that we just sift through.
Like Stephen King, but like less organized than even that.
Yeah. So we start with a racist accent, which, for those of you who didn't notice, there's 2 aliens that, one is the Viceroy. They have political power and are working for, we don't know this at this point, but they're working for the Emperor. And they have this off-brand Asian accent where, like, they don't pronounce R's and L's the same way an English speaker might. And just in general, the affectation seems to be poking fun at Asian people. So fuck you already. Like, yeah,
fuck the prequels already. We're off to a terrible fucking start.
We've started. And then your next note was pretty good.
Female C-3PO feminist icon.
We have, this is our first introduction to a quote-unquote female robot, and we could honestly get into so much about why the fuck robots are even gendered in this universe. In any universe. Yeah, it's like, why
do you call your computer a she? You might.
You might actually, but don't, because it's an it.
Yeah, it is an inanimate object.
And honestly,
has no creed.
Yeah, and for the remainder of this series, I can imagine we're going to get into, like, just the fuck-upness of how much droids are treated like slaves, regardless of the fact that they clearly have personalities, autonomy, feel pain, feel emotions. Yeah. And now apparently have gender. That is always my gripe with Star Wars. Or, no, sorry, not Star Wars. Any sci-fi that pertains to binary gender. Like, if you're not imagining a world where people aren't just white, if you're not just imagining a world where people aren't just a man or a woman, you're
George Lucas.
You're fundamentally failing the thought experiment of what could be so fucking cool about space and the future.
Yeah, this is even where Star Trek falls flat. I'm not a Trekkie, but I do like Star Trek. I did grow up watching, like, The Next Generation, and it's no secret that Star Trek is a much more progressive show than most, but also just more progressive than Star Wars.
I mean, it had the first interracial kiss.
And TV. There was just, like, it was very social justice grounded, the whole show. But that being said, if you go and watch like the first, I think it was 4 seasons of the original Star Trek with Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, who actually is a legend. It's not progressive at all, because who was writing it? A cis white dude that, as far as I know, was straight. So you're immediately limited in your perspectives, and you're immediately working with a very unrealistic version of the future.
Yeah.
Even though Star Wars is technically the past, if we're talking about Star Wars.
That is also a dumb thing.
It is also a dumb thing. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
We can talk about that when it comes to Attack of the Clones, because you specifically had a gripe with the diner.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
back.
to stay on Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and just so you don't get Trekkies yelling at you, there are extended universes within the Star Trek TV show and possibly fiction in which there are species that don't have gender.
100%, and I think that even does come up. There's like some species in... We'll do another episode on Star Trek, but there is some species that make an appearance in... I think even the very first Star Trek that are genderless species.
Yeah.
And I know that for sure in TNG The Next Generation, that there are genderless species out there. So, but we'll do another episode on that. We'll do another episode on that.
Star Wars.
So female
C-3PO
feminist icon.
I mean, yeah, I think all I have to say about that is how weird that we gender robots. But like, if we're gonna have gendered robots, having one be essentially a maid, it's not.
Go fucking figure.
Not my fave.
Go fucking figure. Not to mention that like C-3PO. What is he doing? Like, what?
C-3PO in this film?
Well,
because he's being born.
He is being born in the Phantom Menace, right? Because Annie is making him.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why we needed Anakin to have made C-3PO.
I have thoughts and feelings about that, but we'll talk about it in a second.
Okay.
Because we're not even past the first scene.
We're not even past the first scene. Okay, so my next note on this was why was this movie budgeted $115 million?
I don't even have a concept of how much money that is.
That is so much money for how shitty this movie turned out. I just like, first of all,
wait, okay, let's delegate some of that money to Natalie Portman, Keira Knightley's, Liam Neeson, and Ewan McGregor's salary.
Okay, I would say that and was Samuel Ellen. Did he appear in Phantom Menace? Was Samuel Jackson in Phantom Menace?
Oh, I should know this.
I don't know when he makes his... He's there with the... No, I think his first appearance is in... Oh my god. There's so many people screaming right now. If there's any Star Wars fans out there that happened upon this like vague podcast, you're so angry at us now.
Okay, let's go with Schrodinger's Samuel L. Jackson. He both is and isn't in the Phantom Menace, in the sense that we know Mace Windu exists as part of the Jedi Council, but we don't know if we see face.
There we go. But if he was indeed face in this movie, that he would get a lot of money. And Liam Neeson, obviously big budget action star.
So yeah, let's delegate some of that.
For sure, but at the same time, and I understand there's like a limited possibility of what you could do with the effects, but can we just talk about the effects
that were better in the 70s?
And why is that? Because they used practical effects in the 70s, and they just got too big for their fucking britches.
It's not even that. Like, from what I understand, George Lucas is just crazy about CGI. He loves it.
Why?
He loves it so much that he
Difference of opinion.
But like he the fact that he made Yoda a CGI being instead of a puppet.
Well, and if we had puppet Yoda in any of the prequels, it would have looked very out of place and strange because of how much CGI was surrounded. Which brings me to Jar Jar Jamaican stereotyping.
Yes, which like this, now I have yet to read, articles from Jamaican people on this, but from what I understand, Jar Jar is meant to be a Jamaican stereotype in the way that he speaks, like not exactly broken English, but like a specific dialect that isn't like, I don't know, English proper. What's a non-colonist way to say like formal English? I guess formal English.
There you go.
And he obviously is getting... He's the butt of the joke in every scene in this movie, which it would be fine in a vacuum of like, hey, there's this alien that's clumsy and silly, but have you considered that we don't live in a vacuum, and the fact that George Lucas was like, hey, Jamaican people are dumb, that's fucking racist, and...
Yeah. So I'm shocked to even find that out. Because I had no idea coming into this film that that's what Jar Jar Binks was based off of.
I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is conspiracy theory, but I have no reason to doubt that George Lucas is a racist.
Oh, I have no reason to doubt that George Lucas isn't Satan himself come back.
Correct.
That might be dramatic, but I really hate George Lucas.
That's fine.
That being said, I've never seen any of George Lucas's films outside of Star Wars. I didn't see American Graffitis. I think that's the only other... Oh, and I didn't see any of the relevant... whip. He's got a whip.
Indiana Jones.
Whip.
He's got a whip. You couldn't even summon Harrison Ford from your lips.
Okay, and we can talk about how much I hate Harrison Ford in the episode we do. In the original trilogy.
Okay, I'm gonna bounce onto my notes for a second.
Okay.
Because you mentioned Jar Jar, that means we're on Jar Jar's planet, aka Naboo, which is also Princess Amidala's planet. That becomes relevant later. Or is she Queen at this point?
Queen Amidala.
Yeah. So... my notes just say 17 minutes in, I relate to Obi-Wan's dry attitude, which I gotta say, something I love about the prequels is just Ewan McGregor, holy, but then specifically Sassy Wan Kenobi.
Sassy Wan fucking Kenobi. And
the dry wit, the absolute, like, complete being done with everything at any given moment.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not having it. And that's something I miss in the original trilogy, which doesn't make any sense based on the way that it was fucking filmed. But Sassy Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor really does make this movie for me. Or any movie.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Ewan McGregor probably saved the prequels single-handedly. Natalie Portman did some heavy lifting in the last film.
She did. She emoted.
She actually emoted. And I was like, oh my god, I actually think I care for a second. But that's jumping way ahead.
Back to Naboo. I have a quote here. Emma says Fish is the queerest character so far, and the fish in question is the one chasing them underwater while... Okay, this is so fucking convoluted. We are barely on Naboo because of the failed diplomatic mission between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn trying to have with the Viceroy, and they tried to, like, send in bots and gas them, and it didn't work. So now they're on Naboo running from these AT-ATs and droids, and then they literally stumble upon Jar Jar Binks, who then offers them refuge in his underwater city that doesn't even...
The lost city of Atlantis.
Sure. That doesn't even want him because he's so clumsy he fucked up an army, presumably.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but when they get there, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon do the mind tricking thing, furthering the stereotype that, like, these people are weak-minded and because they're, I don't know, indigenous to this land.
Not great representation of Jar Jar.
No. Jar Jar deserves better, I guess. I don't know.
Or we could have just not had Jar Jar.
I mean,
Let's cut Jar Jar out altogether.
We know the lore as to why he ended up in that movie, but I'll touch on that in a second.
Oh, I can't wait. That's my favorite Star Wars lore. Like, my favorite.
Well, all I'll say is how we got to the fish. Anyway, Jar Jar brings them to his underwater city. They mind trick the people in charge into sending them with a ship further into the planet to get away. It's so fucking convoluted because they just met this dude. But anyway, and then a fish is chasing them and trying to eat them and then gets eaten by a bigger fish. And,
Queer icon.
And yeah, for whatever reason, Emma is just at the point where she's like, you know what? The fish is the queer one now.
So we're not too far into the movie at this point. But already there's an inherent lack of queerness.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, because, okay, so what this podcast was really born out of is that Kai has this amazing ability to read queer subtext of, like, anything. Like, you give him anything and he'll be like, that's queer. And you're like, shit, it is. These movies are so hard to even fucking do that with.
It's very true. It's so, I would say, rigid.
It's rigid.
Yeah.
Heterosexuality is rigid and I hate it.
It so is. However, my next note, and I don't know how far this is in, regardless of age gap, it is required that Padawans and Masters have a sexually charged banter. That...
Yes.
Yes, and I'm not speaking of Anakin because we haven't even been introduced to Anakin yet. Yeah. I'm talking about Ewan McGregor, Qui-Gon Jinn, and then later Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen.
Which, yeah, there's like always a playful banter, which reminds me of a disturbing thing in like old Greek philosophy. The pederasty thing.
Yeah.
But that's different, and I hate that my brain just went there.
Let's say Ewan McGregor is like a fully grown adult by the time Liam Neeson is like flirting with him.
Let's.
Yeah, because I think he probably was. How old was he in 1999? Probably an adult.
He was old enough to be in Moulin Rouge.
Okay, there you go.
My gift is my song.
I can't. Please don't make me do this again.
I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, so we do feel playful, like, bants. There's some bants.
I mean, it would just... I relate to... It's so funny. I relate to Obi-Wan so hard, but at this point, Emma says, I am most like Qui-Gon Jinn because he is level-headed and reasonable.
I think he's like Qui-Gon Jinn.
I mean, I wouldn't
I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I don't necessarily know if Qui-Gon is that reasonable because he is willing to, like, shuck everything to do with the Jedis because he assumes that this child is the prophecy, the chosen one.
That is true.
But
which isn't great.
No, I mean, he wants to get a kid out of slavery, which is a noble cause.
Very.
They do leave behind his mom, though.
Well, who needs a woman, right?
Oh,
I'm just like, and that's the message that I really get from most of Star Wars. Who needs a woman, right? Who needs her? She just complains. I don't understand. Get out of here.
Okay. But yeah, we
in the prequels especially.
Yeah.
In the prequels especially. Because right now, our female, I say love Padme's Alexander McQueen.
Oh my god. Okay, this is a thing that's worth mentioning in this movie. The Phantom Menace has the top tier, the highest tier fashions.
Oh my god.
I
drool. I don't actually know if it's Alexander McQueen, but I'm just saying that it looks a lot
like dramatic vibes.
Looks like a lot for, I think, his 2008 collection with the very overdrawn lips. There's a lot of like we're getting like Queen.
Yes.
Queen vibes.
Queen Amidala. It fucking rules. The outfits are so good. I'm sure there's like a touch of appropriation with the kabuki makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I will not deny that, but just the elegant dresses, the headpieces, the drama.
So gorgeous.
Mwah! So we get to see both Natalie Portman and Keira Knightley wear that because some people may not know this.
Because they're the same person.
Yeah, Keira Knightley did serve as a body double for Natalie Portman in this movie.
She was Queen Amidala.
Yeah, which makes sense if you get further into the plot because Padme serves as a handmaiden, but she's actually the queen in a disguise. She has her handmaidens pretend to be her as a decoy. It's a whole thing.
And this is where I really want to... Okay, so for me, Padme, big bisexual energy.
Oh, yeah.
I really felt like, what did you call it in the car earlier?
Oh.
Women loving women.
Oh, yeah, women loving women. Woollawa.
Woollawa, which sounds like a Wookiee thing,
it
almost.
Does.
But the closest we get to that...
Wookiees loving Wookiees.
Wookiees loving Wookiees. Very important. We need that representation. I really feel like Padme... I want to give all the credit to Natalie Portman in this, so I can't know this for sure. But, like, it feels like she really gives a shit about her handmaids.
Oh, my God, she does.
Yeah, and, like, really gives a shit about her bodyguard. And, like, yeah, I feel like she's more moved by her relationship, however brief that we get to see that actually on screen. I think she's, like, more moved by that relationship than even her one with Annie.
I mean... spoiler alert, she does die of heartbreak because of Anakin.
Fuck that.
I know it's the worst. One of the reasons why I hate Revenge of the Sith. But this all being said, I fully agree with you. Natalie Portman does exude bi energy, and that definitely bleeds into Padme based on how, like, invested she seems in her relationships and friendships with her handmaidens, her friends, especially at the beginning of the second movie. It is, I think, that one of her handmaidens dies pretending to be her, and she's very upset.
Very, yeah.
Understandably.
Yeah, which is, like, also a normal human reaction, but if we're really gonna try and dig deep for something queer here, let's make it queer.
Yeah. Fuck. Where are we even in this plot? How long is this gonna take?
Okay, so we can kind of, like, fast forward through a bit of the movie.
It's war,
It's Anakin. There's such a long fucking scene of him just racing in a shitty fucking aircraft.
This is funny because I think this is one of the scenes that people actually like in the
I know, and I'm
Menace.
sorry. I'm too distracted to fucking tune into it. I'm just like, when is this? Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, he's racing for his freedom even though he doesn't know it. So Anakin is this slave boy that's incredibly good with mechanics. This is something, I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily touch on queerness, but something I find incredibly interesting about both Anakin and Luke is they have, like, a pretty deep empathy and understanding for droids. They never see them as not human.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy in this world. Like, Anakin doesn't just see himself making a robot servant to help him and his mom with chores. He does treat C-3PO like a friend, kind of.
Yeah.
And R2-D2 is also treated with a decent amount of respect because he helps the people protecting Padme from war and being shot at. So he's given, like, an honorary position and considered to be a big deal. So I just... Yeah, in a world that treats droids as what would you even call it? Second-class citizens, not even people. I thought it was very interesting that Anakin and Luke both really have an empathy for droids. That was weird, but good, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, which is something that we consistently see in the characters that we're supposed to be empathizing with in this whole... That's my cat. She just walked in the room and demanded we pay attention to her, as she does. But no, that is something that you consistently see through the characters that you're meant to empathize with and meant to like.
Yeah.
Is that they are exceptionally good to their droids.
Yeah, like
because Poe. Yeah.
Poe loves BB-8 like a dog.
I just had a moment for Oscar Isaac in my mind and my heart. I can't wait to get to those movies.
That's what we're in it for.
That's what I honestly, oh fuck, oh god, okay, so he wins his freedom and I want to die.
Yeah, Anakin, basically Qui-Gon Jinn is very attached to Anakin. He sees that he has such a grip on the Force, and he's going to be the chosen one, the Jesus prophecy of the Jedis.
Can we come up with a new story?
No, George. Why would you ask that of George Lucas?
Let's just write let's just write Star Trek. Let's just write Harry Potter. Let's just write. How many times do we need a white man being chosen for something?
I mean,
like, this is a galaxy far, far away. Can we not?
No.
Anyway, we already did this rant. Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine. So, this is a good note. How can I be as dead inside and monotone as Padme, a teenage Amidala? I really love Padme's queen voice, where she just gets really deep and
monotone.
Yeah, I don't see any other way we can do this, Chancellor. Like, it's...
Kind of like Snape in the Puppet Palace. Everyone...
Shut up! Yes, obviously.
I had porridge this morning.
Yeah.
It was bland and watery.
I mean, I love a deep-voiced woman. Now, at this point, do we call Natalie Portman a woman? I don't know. She's probably a kid at this point. Speaking of, the fact that she's set up to be in a romance with someone who looks like 7...
Annie is literally a tiny little, like, 6-year-old child.
Okay,
like,
we know for a fact that he's 9 because in...
I know, but he looks like he's, like, 6. He's so small and tiny.
Yes, I had to do backwards math to understand his age because I believe he's 19 in Attack of the Clones when him and Padme get married. Spoiler alert.
Oh, God, help me. Yeah, he did. Which, I mean, Natalie Portman really plays it opposite to what was obviously directed.
Yeah.
And I just... Can we just take a moment to fully appreciate everything that Natalie Portman has done. I think she's even like dropped her deal with Dior that she had or something when she found out that they were like, somebody was anti-Semitic, and she was like, nope, fuck you. Obviously she's a Jewish queen.
Now I just need her to kill Woody Allen.
Now I just need, and she's on her way. Honestly, do you hear the fury? Because I do. She's making tiny little furious steps towards him right now.
I hope so.
So I really love Natalie Portman, how she anchors this character.
Yeah, she very much comes across as an empathetic babysitter.
Yeah, totally.
Which is what I want.
Yeah, which is what you want. It would
That's
be
appropriate.
so disturbing to see anything else.
Yeah.
I just love her energy.
Yeah. Also, I have a nice note I think you'll like. I might have said this out loud. Darth Maul kind of looks like if you gave Gerard Way a few more years. If you just give him a few more years with that eyeliner, like, he'll do it.
Oh my god.
He'll get there.
Oh, and you know what? Emo icon. Darth Maul. The only thing I probably like about Phantom Menace, besides I do like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi's relationship.
Yeah.
But Darth Maul is just so gangster. Like, he's so fucking awesome looking. I love that makeup. Like, it's so fun.
Oh my god. Yeah, then I just have notes complaining about how convoluted the plot is. Do you have anything about this point?
So love droids flirting, which I'm guessing was C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah, always.
Always. So we see, and this is where, okay, I feel like C-3PO, a beautiful queen.
Oh my god, yes.
I really get, like, he loves R2 in a way that is passionate, respectful.
Oh, I don't know about respectful. He definitely kicks R2 in like the New Hope.
Okay, so we'll just sidestep that one. Problematic relationships, we all have them. Anyway, but like I really feel like C-3PO. And fun fact, when I watched these movies the first time with friends when I was like 17, my best friend at the time, she was like, oh my god, you're C-3PO.
Oh.
Which I take slightly as an insult, because he's a little bit fussier than I would like to be. But also very anxious and confused.
Oh, yeah.
That's on brand.
Yeah.
That's on brand for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so I think there's a lot of, like, queer coding, though, that happens in C-3PO, which may be somewhat problematic at points.
I mean, yes, he is essentially a slave, as the droids are. Yeah. So that isn't great. I do have a note here about R2-D2 and C-3PO flirting. They flirt by talking shit about Jar Jar, so we love to bond through shit talking.
Okay, and that's how I bond. Let's just be
honest.
I have a really great note here I would love to share. Maybe Jar Jar and Darth should have got together and had a gay sitcom.
Oh god, I remember this. So the whole thing with Jar Jar is, if you know this theory, you'll understand. There's the idea that Jar Jar was originally put in the prequels to be like a Darth, or like a Sith Lord.
Darth Jar Jar?
Yeah, Darth Banks or whatever. But the idea is, he's so stupid no one would ever suspect him, but in actuality he does a lot of shitty things. Like, for instance, in the second movie he fucks up real good by getting the Senator Palpatine in power.
Good work, Jar Jar. Fuck you, Banks.
Yeah, so there's just this idea that Jar Jar's working behind the scenes and acting as a moron as a guise, and he's actually like a Sith Lord.
Which, okay, and by Darth I mean Darth Maul. Because if this lore were true,
right,
I just love the idea that, like, Jar Jar is the manic pixie dream girl to brooding emo Darth Maul. Oh, God. And I love that idea. Like, I really want to watch that movie.
Yeah, just like a bumbling dumbass and his moody boyfriend.
Oh. Because, like, Darth Maul, like, says nothing.
Yeah, he has, like, no lines. I believe this is because, and again, this could just be hearsay, but we
don't fact check.
Yeah, but I've heard that the reason that Darth Maul's lines got cut is because the actor who played him, like, pissed off the people making the movie, so they kind of out of spite cut a lot of his lines.
Which I believe the actor's name was Jimmy Smits, and I gotta say, you're my hero if you pissed off everybody who made these movies, because they deserved it.
And you still got the most badass character.
Yeah. And you said literally nothing and just, like, lived your life.
I'm pretty sure these only lines are, like, yes, master, to, like, Palpatine.
Probably. So Shmi.
Oh, yes. Annie's mom.
Shmi, why I thought she was an Arrow Ace icon, I think is because she has an immaculate conception
Mother
plotline.
Mary. We love Mother Mary.
Yeah, I wrote it down as like, yeah, asexual icon. Because again, we really have to reach in this film.
Yeah.
We really have to reach. So basically, just a side note to keep track of the fact that she may have never been with anybody.
That's very true. She
Mm-hmm.
may just have, by choice, not wanted to have sex with anyone.
And just like raised an adorable little Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Good
possible.
for her. I mean, he did end up very evil, but good for her.
But, like, think of how proud you would be. Even, you're enslaved. It sucks. We didn't even talk about Watto, who is their slave owner, and who is supposed to be a Jewish stereotype, which is fucking crazy.
How many stereotypes can we fit into one movie to just defend and belittle everybody who could potentially watch it?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but think of how proud you would be if you were Shmi. You're like, you're born in less than poverty. You are literally a slave. And at the age of 9, your child knows how to race and knows how to put together robots and, like, is basically running the mechanic shop. That's very impressive.
I mean, he's a boy genius.
Yeah.
Jimmy Neutron.
Oh, God. I don't want to think about Anakin Jimmy Neutron crossover.
Oh, I do. That's
my
good.
God.
Clone Wars, let's do it.
Oh, also, we skipped over this for the pod racing. There are a few practical costumes. There are people in costumes as aliens. But the fact that they had people in alien costumes next to the janky-ass CGI characters is a fucking crazy choice.
Yeah, which was my note that I made in the next movie, but it's relevant for all of them, which is I hate everything that isn't a real puppet.
Yeah.
And again, I don't... Like, special effects are incredibly difficult, and I really respect the art form of good special effects, and I know where they were in 1999, 2000, when this was released.
Yeah.
So it's not even when it was made, it was when it was released. It was made in the 90s. I understand that, we were just venturing into that. The Fellowship of the Ring movie from the Lord of the Rings franchise was just coming out, and they were really the ones that pioneered the special effects that we saw in, like, motion capture with Gollum, which were just, like, really incredible. Like, nobody had ever seen anything like that at that time. And if you go back and watch Fellowship of the Rings, it's fucking terrible. Like, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely revolutionary, and we're actually getting into timelines that now I can remember. As a 25-year-old woman, I was like 6-ish years old by this time, and I remember being really blown away by Gollum. But that was the first movie that, like, broke out those special effects. Special effects sucked back then.
I mean, yeah, imagine if you go back and look at Dobby from the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, save me, no.
You'd be like, oh, God.
Yeah. So I understand that. But it was also, I can remember it being a thing that everybody said special effects sucked. Like, it was something that we all knew at this time, that, like, special effects didn't look good and we didn't fucking like it, and movies looked like video games. And so why they strayed so far from the practical effects of the original Star Wars movies. George Lucas, I will find you.
Yeah.
And I will throw a pie directly in your face.
And
it looks so bad. Yeah.
Okay. That's all valid.
Thank you.
Next, God forgive me for this. Obi-Wan has a praise kink. At some point, At some point, Qui-Gon Jinn does give him, like, a lot of compliments, being like, you're a wiser man than even I, or, like, whatever, you've surpassed your master, or whatever, and you can just see him, like, light up under that praise, just being like, okay, thank you so much, that means so much to me.
Like, more, please.
Please.
Yep.
But no, like all of us, Obi-Wan just wants to be valid, but still, I thought...
And I appreciate that.
I appreciate the sexually charged moments where I can find them.
The movie basically wraps up with Darth Maul dying.
He doesn't.
Oh, well, yeah, spoiler alert, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But it looks like Darth Maul dies.
Darth Maul gets cut in half. We can say that.
Yeah. And Qui-Gon Jinn is dead and gone, and Annie is now in the fold of the Jedi, and Padme is...
She won the war.
She won the war. She's queen.
Yeah, what had happened was she teams up with Jar Jar's people, which is why Jar Jar is important in this film at all, presumably.
Yeah.
Is
fucking him.
Yeah, Padme finds the indigenous people of Naboo and asks for their help, and they agree, and in teaming up in this war, they actually managed to defeat the droid army.
Great, so Darth Jar Jar fucking saves the day.
Yeah.
Is he crowned at the end of this movie? Or not crowned, sorry, but like knighted or whatever the fuck.
In the second movie, he has a position in the council.
Yeah, right, because that's how he sells them out to Palpatine.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to Attack of the Clones.
My favorite of the prequels.
Your favorite of the prequel? Yeah. It's definitely more interesting than Phantom Menace, and it's not as depressing as Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, that's where you can firmly put it.
Yeah.
And I'll also just say, like, this was the movie I watched the most as a kid. I had a hell of a crush on Hayden Christensen.
Didn't we all?
I hate Sam. Which is crazy, considering how bad he is in this film.
My favorite quote of all time is still the sand quote. I hate sand. It's coarse and raw. Gets everywhere.
Okay, he has a right to hate sand. He was enslaved on a planet.
The delivery of that is just what's excellent.
I mean, the fact that he's using this to come on to Padme and go like, "You're smooth," like.
Oh my god, the dialogue. It just gets worse every movie.
I believe it's been described as like landing with the thud of a technological computer textbook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A computer manual.
Yes, a computer manual.
Yeah, just landing with the thud of a computer manual on your foot.
Yeah.
So the first note I have for Attack of the Clones.
Uh-huh.
A lot of plot in this note. I hope you can handle it.
Oh, that's crazy. I definitely didn't write about the plot.
No, I'm being sarcastic. Padme's just shut down Annie, and he creeped out.
Which, that's not a verb I've heard. So I love that you've made that a verb. Creeped out.
He is so creepy in this movie.
He does.
Oh my god, he's leering.
He's 19 years old. He's obsessed with this woman who was the age of a babysitter for him as a child. And he won't stop talking about her.
And he won't leave her alone. She keeps being like, weird, no, like, you're a Jedi. Like, you can't even, like, you're a monk. Like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, we have to be professional. And he's just like, I can't, I'm so in love. He even to Obi-Wan is just like, oh my god, I'm so excited to see her. And Obi-Wan's like, fucking reel it in. Like, you idiot.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, my first note is Anakin and Obi-Wan prime banter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's where we really enter into Attack of the Clones.
It's just, yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan already establishing that we have, like, a bit of an indignant youth versus, like, you're not my real dad. Like, that vibe. But because, yeah, Obi-Wan has kind of raised him, but it's also just this thing where they're fighting like an old married couple. Like,
he hands that down directly from Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
To Annie.
Yeah, which is why I'm under the impression that every Padawan and Master must have sexually charged banter.
It's where they get the Force.
Yes.
That's where they obtain the Force. It's in between everything. In between each word. The sexual tension.
Yes.
The Force.
That's it. We did it.
I do have to say that, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans say this, but I really do love the Force as, like, a philosophy.
I mean, okay. A choice.
Yeah, but
it's fucking funny that you say that, just because, like, I am a Star Wars stan. I deep dove as soon as Kylo Ren reached my retinas.
Understandable.
I went straight into the extended universe to read about the character he was based on, Jason Solo. And as a result of that, I know a decent amount about Star Wars. I still haven't done everything, but hey, neither is fucking George Lucas. He doesn't know everything about Star Wars either.
I don't even know what I ate for breakfast this morning, so...
But what I'll say about the Force is, like, I personally don't like it as a religion or a dogma because it implies that there always has to be evil to balance out good. But...
I guess I don't see the dark side as purely evil.
Oh, wow.
But this is going to turn into a philosophy class
we
really quick. So
don't.
let's rein it back into the worst movie of all time. Not the worst of the prequels, though. Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So we've got the Bants. We feel that strong between...
Right.
not Qui-Gon, sorry.
R.I.P.
Obi-Wan and Annie. So that's, we're having a delightful queer time.
Yeah, and then he creeps out.
And then he creeps out and gets all heterosexual on us. And I fucking hate it.
Yeah, we don't love that because he's basically stalking Padme.
Yes, but she has very Dom energy.
Yeah, she does.
She has, very, don't fuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, she's older, she's wiser, she's everything.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is one thing I will say about Attack of the Clones. What the fuck happened to her wardrobe?
I know, we lost some... Well, okay, so the queens switch.
Yeah, she's now a senator instead of a queen, and then another queen is elected, which the fact that that's even a thing. If you're in the past and it's a different world, why are we using these same titles? Why is it even remotely the same structure?
Because we have no imagination.
Yeah, or I'm trying to make half-hearted commentary about the current world, I guess.
Well, I mean... We can do that too.
No.
We can do that too. New queen, not Amidala. Anyway.
That's her name now.
Not
Amidala.
Not Amidala, which
is what we'll call her.
My favorite character. No, but she really loves Padme.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of woman action happening again.
A lot is a generous word.
So there's a very small pinprick amount of woman-loving woman energy, but it's there. And Natalie Portman, again, I feel like she expands it with her heart.
She does.
She's
there. In terms of the gay stuff, maybe this is actually the opening scene where Padme arrives on this, outpost, or just she lands in a docking bay on a spaceship, and she's in disguise, and someone's pretending to be her, and that person ends up getting shot and killed. And she's very upset watching this woman die in her arms.
Right, I fucking forgot.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
That's fine. And then the next Woola interaction we get is her and the new queen of Naboo, who's been elected, keeps her close as an advisor. She really values her opinion. What I will say about the new queen, it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure she's Southeast Asian, so that's dope. Not that we'd ever see her face. She's painted all white in the kabuki makeup again.
Yep.
But anyway, her and Padme seem to have a very nice professional relationship where they rely on each other for political information, political advice, or whatever. But let's go to one of my favorite scenes. Maybe my favorite? No, one of my favorite scenes in this movie. The chase scene in which Anakin and Obi-Wan figure out that someone's trying to poison Padme in her sleep.
Oh my god, yeah!
Yeah, so Annie jumps out the fucking window onto this droid that's flying back to this female assassin that's trying to kill Padme, and this changeling, and then Obi-Wan follows him. It's a very fun dynamic action sequence,
which we deserved after the Phantom Menace.
Oh my god, yes. It's so funny to me because it's Obi-Wan trying to save Anakin's ass, and Anakin actively doing reckless dumb shit and still being well, this is why you keep me around, master. I'm the best. and
he repeatedly saves Obi-Wan's butt.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan is just oh fuck, I'm too old for this. That's the vibe. I'm too old for this versus I'm hot shit.
So relatable.
Yeah, so just some of my favorite moments in the movie come from this scene. Obi-Wan is talking to Anakin. Anakin jumps out of the speeder just to get closer to the woman who tried to kill Padme. They end up in a bar to find the changeling that's trying to kill Padme, who's been contracted to do so. This assassin has not been doing this of her own free will. She's been hired to do it. They go into a club and someone tries to sell Obi-Wan cigarettes and calls them death sticks. It's so dumb.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Let's call it Invisisteel, and these will be called death sticks. They'll never be the wiser.
Never. So that's fun.
No, that was a real. I'm glad that you brought it back to that scene because that's probably the most fun we have in the film.
Yeah, come on. There's also the scene where they're in the Coliseum, which is cool.
Oh, where Natalie Portman's
gets a crop top.
Gets a crop top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dressed up as her as a child in that outfit.
Perfect.
That was my Halloween costume one year. Okay.
Easy.
More notes on this?
Let's see. So
something we can talk about gay couples. So Mace Windu is definitely in this movie.
And him and Yoda have
a connection.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say. Like Yoda and Mace muse a lot about, the future for Anakin and what they see happening with the Force and whatnot. But just in general, I find that Mace Windu is Yoda's number one confidant.
Yeah.
And I think that's really touching. Just the idea that this old man has like a slightly younger, I don't know how old Mace Windu is supposed to be, but like a slightly younger black man just being his pal and just be like...
It is cute.
Yeah.
I do feel like for me throughout the entire series, I always feel like if we're gonna assign a queer identity to Yoda, it would be like asexual, aromantic.
Yeah, so like Mace Windu could be his like queer platonic partner. They're life partners.
That feels real.
Yeah.
I don't know how Samuel Jackson managed to have chemistry with something that wasn't even there.
That's how good he is.
I love Samuel Jackson.
That's how good he is at his job. He can act.
He can act, even though the entire movie I was saying we have got to get these motherfucking snakes off this motherfucking plane. Just because honestly iconic Samuel Jackson.
Great. I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either, but I know that line is said in that movie.
Well, do you know that?
Yeah. Anyway, so skipping, I guess the only thing I would just like to feminist rage for a quick second.
Please do.
In saying that I feel like Padme falls victim to what I call Lois Lane syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically a character that is obviously like written as like a very intelligent character that would be very hard to pull one over on, and yet there's this massive oversight in the writing where, she just doesn't recognize him because he's wearing glasses. Like Lois Lane, we all know her. She's like an investigative reporter working side by side with the man she covers intimately the most. Like, it's her main story is Superman. And she's like, damn, I'm just confounded by these spectacles. Like, what? So I feel like Padme is less of a Lois Lane than Lois Lane. But I did write down that, like, her comforting this, like, homicidal man-child. There's a scene, forget the context because
I'll tell you.
Would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So, eventually in this plot, after Padme goes into hiding because there's been an attempt on her life, they go to Naboo and just have an isolated falling in love time. But then one day Anakin wakes up in a horrible dream about his mother being killed.
Right.
Yes. So he returns to Tatooine, the planet he is from, in order to find his mother. He finds Watto, his former slave owner, finds out his mother has been sold to a man named Lars, who ended up marrying Shmi. And when finding Lars, he finds out Lars has a kid named, or not even a kid, an adult son named Owen. Uncle Owen. And Uncle Owen is married to a woman named
Dooku? I don't fucking know.
No.
I mean, is it important?
I mean, she's one of the only female characters in the original trilogy.
Female number 237. Yeah.
There's not 237 females in that fucking world.
Yeah, but they burned all the other prototypes.
Okay.
She's just the one that came out of the fire.
Well, she has a convoluted ass name. Anyway, Shmi gets married to Lars, but then Tusken Raiders attack and kidnap Shmi, and Lars loses his leg, so he can't look for her anymore. Yeah, Tusken Raiders, aka the Sand People, which is so close to a racist slur. Anyway, so Anakin, using the Force, I guess, finds his mother. She's bound and fucked up, and he unties her, but she succumbs to her wounds and dies in his arms. And in this rage, he commits genocide against every Tusken Raider man, woman, and child in the encampment.
Yeah, which, like...
We're not even given reason as to why these people wanted Shmi.
Which, like... What gets me... Thank you, by the way, for the setup, because that's important context. Jesus. Context. But so what follows this scene is him basically going back and confessing to Padme. And in this very moment, a very, capable, experienced political leader would surely recognize the danger and the unhinged kind of ego in this young man. And you think she would be like, fuck no. You know, I have led a country, or a planet. You know, I have worked with all the personality types in the whole fucking galaxy. Big problem. This kid just committed genocide.
Yeah.
And she is always shown to be a very peaceful leader. She's very, like, much...
Diplomacy.
Yeah, diplomacy. She would be very much in the rebel camp if she were in the later films. And you just can't make me believe that that she would do what she ends up doing, which is just basically being like, oh, there, Annie. That wasn't very good, but I love you. Like, bullshit!
Yeah. It's not only that, but I think it only works in the context in which sand people, the Tusken Raiders, are not seen as people. They're seen as animals, which is deeply racist.
It is, and it's just fucking stupid.
From what I can tell, the only motivation you can piece together through this film as to why the Tusken Raiders did this at all is because, like, they are probably the indigenous people to Tatooine, and they see anyone on their land as invaders or, like, as colonists.
Which is a sympathetic point of view, honestly.
Yes, but that being said, it's obviously fucking horrible that a person was enslaved, finally manages to find peace and like, a husband they love. Mm-hmm. Granted, who was their slave owner, but, like, maybe...
Creepy.
But, hey, but, like,
Thanks, Michael Fassbender. Sorry.
I don't know if
that's
that
a 12 Years a Slave reference.
Oh, okay. But, like, to give Lars a little credit, maybe he knew the only way to free Shmi was to buy her. Maybe he was just like, man, I love this woman. Fucking, let's get her out of slavery. She's mine now, and by being mine, you're free.
Sure. I can concede to that.
Yeah, sure. Maybe Lars is great. Also, the first character I've seen in the Star Wars universe that uses, like, a what would be a wheelchair in our time, but is like a hover chair in Star Wars time. And that's... why isn't that used more?
Why can't I have a I just want hover chairs for everybody. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, like, just the idea that things can be so much more mobile in the... Well, this is the distant past, but, like, in a technologically advanced society, you'd think we'd see people who don't have use of their legs or, like, who have limited mobility using these and being part of the plot. Still engaged.
A lot of the characters end up being disabled because they're amputees. Yes. So, like, there is that. We've seen technology favor. Yeah.
Oh, but you must have to be, like, pretty rich to afford that, because Lars is still missing a leg. He doesn't have a fake leg.
Oh, and if he's in a culture that's like a slave culture, that makes sense. Anyway,
we've gone very off script.
I just wanted to feminist rage about, I felt like they did Padme dirty.
Yeah, and as not a counterpoint to that, but an explanation is, unfortunately, Padme may be a white feminist and doesn't see Tusken Raiders as people.
Yeah, which would be the only explanation.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, you just slaughtered some fucking insurgent animals. What the fuck do I care?
Yeah, and there's still a concern with that action, but definitely I would have thought she would have been like, oh, wow, man, you're out of control. Yeah. Just went to Obi-Wan and been like, your Padawan is fucked. Yeah. And you need to rein him in. And because she wasn't super invested, like, he heavily pursued her. Yeah. So I'm not really buying that she's like, anyway.
Yeah, like, the only time
I could go on.
Like, them falling in love on Naboo is, like, you see them flirt, you see them share stories, you see them angst together.
He gets hit by like that cow thing. He gets flattened out by that cow
Yeah,
thing.
he decides to race, or not even race, just like ride one of these wild animals, and then it bucks him off and stomps on him, and he's fine.
I wish he just fucking died then.
I mean,
but
God, if
whatever.
only. And then there's the pear scene where he cuts a pear for her. And
Of course, the most romantic thing one can do.
Anyway, I don't even know where I'm going. Oh, we can jump to some fun stuff because we aren't talking about what Obi-Wan's doing during all this.
What is Obi-Wan up to?
Obi-Wan is going to a diner that you hate.
I fucking hate that diner.
Okay, tell us why.
Because it is... I understand that they're pandering to an audience that has... It's from Earth and we have Earth culture. But, like, it takes away the suspension of, like, disbelief where you're in a different galaxy. Like, they hark back to a 1950s diner that is an Earth culture thing. Like, it would just make more sense if they had put the Star Wars universe in Earth, in the distant future, if they're gonna throw us shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, why are you pandering to my nostalgia? I want to feel like I'm in a different galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, ew.
So that's a pretty nonsense thing. But he talks to a big alien named Dex, who I enjoy.
I did enjoy Dex.
Yeah, you only get him for that one scene,
Yep.
but he is
R.I.P. Dex.
Yeah, he's a good friend of Obi-Wan. They hug. It's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And Dex is just like, "Oh, you want to know where this dart came from that killed the assassin that tried to kill Padme," which is also, I'm gonna have to explain that. So the changeling that was trying to kill Padme did get away in this club, but then they managed to find her and shoot her, and while she's like in pain, they're trying to interrogate her outside in the alleyway to be like, who sent you? Who sent you? What do you know? And before she can get the words out, another assassin like sends a poison dart into her neck and she dies. So they take that dart and it has engravings on it. So Obi-Wan goes to Dex and is like, "Yo, what the fuck is this engraving? I can't find anything in the Jedi library." And Dex is like, "Oh, this is from Kamina." And he's like, "What the fuck is Kamina?" And Dex explains to him this weird planet that exists outside of a lot of people's knowledge. And when Obi-Wan tries to find it in the database, it's been erased, where this planet is supposed to be. So he flies to where this planet is, and I don't want to explain the plot because it's so dumb. Basically, he finds out that a Jedi secretly commissioned an army of clone soldiers.
Ah, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Ah.
So a hitman, a bounty hunter named Jango Fett has got himself replicated so many times over to be the clones, which eventually become the titular Attack of the Clones.
At least these are my people. The Q-tip people, by the way, I will spoil a little bit. I do identify with.
Yes, okay.
Long necks, weird heads. Yep.
That's what I want to talk about, not your neck or head. But Kamina is such a cool world. Like, it's stormy. It's almost entirely ocean. These people live in these, like, clean, like, Apple-like technology, like domes.
Apple is in the computer.
Yes,
Yeah.
Apple. As in, like, it's white, it's round edges,
Oh, I
sleek.
miss those Macs. Those were cute.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Yeah. And anyway, and the people of Kamina are just like, yeah, Q-tips. They're
Q-tip
long,
people. Yep.
long and tall, and have a round head with giant eyes and weird like slits for noses.
I love them.
Yeah, I will say that was probably the one CGI alien I was super into.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I will just say that I saw this because one of them is a Jedi and is on the council. And they spend like no time on this alien. I just saw the outline of it in the background of a shot. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, it's me. I was like, it's me. I found it immediately identified with just the outline of this alien.
Yes. Anyway, Obi-Wan comes to suspect that the man who's been cloned a billion times, the OG Jango Fett, may be into some dirty work. There's a very fun action scene in which, like, him and Jango are fighting while Jango is trying to get his son/clone Boba Fett out. And just my favorite line is Obi-Wan pushes Jango Fett off the roof of something, but gets caught up in the wire that Jango has attached to himself and Obi-Wan. So at the last possible second, Obi-Wan realizes he's about to go down with the man he just pushed off this roof, and he just says, "Oh, that's not good." Like, just in the driest accent, is not accent, but like the driest tone, he's just like, "Oh, that's not good." Like, it's so funny to me how sassy Wan Kenobi is.
I love sassy Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
What a legend.
So that's, yeah, I've got some more information about Mace Windu and Yoda doing couples yoga meditation is...
As you do when you're old, you're tired.
Yeah, you just gotta meditate on it with your bud.
We love that.
Sassy C3PO and R2 are back.
Love that. You know, very like The Odd Couple show in the 70s. I don't think I've even seen one episode of that, but still.
Yeah, there's this really dumb scene, which I understand why it's there. There's always been, like, comedic relief in Star Wars films for kids, and C-3PO and R2-D2 provide that in this context, but it's...
Failed Jar Jar.
It's so fucking dumb. I can't even tell you how this happens, but, like, they end up in a droid factory, C-3PO gets put on the conveyor belt,
right!
And his head and body get separated. Why he's there,
then
I don't know.
He appears in the Coliseum during that big showdown.
His head ends up getting put on a battle droid.
Fuck.
And like his body is elsewhere, and just R2-D2 has to save his ass always.
We love R2.
Yeah, and then the Coliseum scene happens. I have lots of fun during that because it's
a fun scene.
Yeah, you and I had a very fun conversation of like, how did Padme get good at fighting? Because she's arguably better than the rest of them.
She's really good.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just inherent training when you become queen or something.
Definitely not.
Right, because they treat her like she's like delicate ornament. Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe, but there is a book about Padme called Queen Shadow that just got released, and I'm going to be reading that.
Of course.
Yeah, so I will get back to you. Sorry, listeners, maybe not you, but I'll get back to you as to why Padme knows how to fight, if it's in there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And then, yeah, there's a fight with Count Dooku. Anakin loses his hand. Dooku, who is, someone's Padawan.
Qui-Gon's Padawan.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Wasn't he?
Count Dooku
no.
is a bad guy.
Palpatine.
Yes.
Sorry. I was just reading Dooku and Qui-Gon in my notes, and then I had to say it because my mouth opened. Right. Yeah. So, Dooku.
Yeah, Count Dooku fights Anakin and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan gets knocked out almost immediately. Anakin loses his hand, which sucks. This is the first time he loses his hand.
Everybody's losing hands.
Yeah. Or at least I think this is the movie where he loses his hand. Anyway.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah. But then Yoda comes in and fights Dooku. And
you've seen this movie far more than I have.
Yoda does some backflips.
Good for Yoda.
Yeah. That
He's
yoga's
spry.
really paying off.
Yoga is paying off for Yoda. Baby yoga.
Jesus. But I will say I may have fallen asleep just internally for the rest of this movie. I can't remember if Dooku gets killed in this movie or the next one.
So my last note is, why is Christopher Lee just playing the same character as he does in Lord of the Rings?
Maybe he lives in this movie.
I want to say that he doesn't, because in Lord of the Rings, he fucking dies.
Oh wait, no. I think he dies in Count Dooku dies in Revenge of the Sith, because I think Palpatine is like egging Annie to do it, and Dooku's like, dog, what the fuck?
Right. I mean, I suppose Christopher Lee's character in Lord of the Rings does die in like the third or second movie.
Wouldn't know. I'm never gonna watch those movies.
Anyway, yeah. So we just leave this fairly open-ended, but the end scene is indeed Anakin and Padme getting hitched.
Oh yeah, and then obviously R2 and C-3PO are the
witnesses.
The gay best men. That's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're the witnesses.
And that brings to a close the only half-decent movie in the prequels. Which means that we get to close with the most depressing, which is Revenge of the Sith. Now, there's an improvement in the special effects.
Yes. It was in 2005, so.
Yep. There is an improvement in the acting. Everybody took a fucking class. Thank you, Hayden, for taking a class for the people. Thank you. But that's about where the positives end.
You said before we watched this movie, you said this was your favorite of the prequels.
It's my favorite of the prequels because I am so into the way a movie looks.
Okay.
So it was more tolerable for me visually.
Yeah.
And
that's a very good praise.
Yeah, and it was more tolerable for me acting-wise, so that's a lot of points for me. So that's why it edged out Attack of the Clones. But Attack of the Clones, I do like the plot best, which is everything in the end. When you have a good plot, that's really what... good is a stretch, but anyway, so I would say that, yeah, like, overall, Attack of the Clones has a better story. But as far as, like, being able to kind of, like, tolerate, like, okay, this is actually feeling like a movie I can watch, Revenge of the Sith did it for me.
Wild. Even as a child, I hated this movie because I was so into
You got invested in Anakin.
Yeah, I didn't know Anakin was Darth Vader. I was a child.
So, that is child abuse.
Yes.
That's fucked.
Oh my god, no. But, like, what I will say is... like, I think that's completely justified. I didn't like Revenge of the Sith for a lot of reasons, but one of them, as a child and now, is his turn to the dark side doesn't make any fucking sense.
It makes so little... Oh my god!
They tried so hard. They tried so hard to plant seeds in the prequels as to why he would turn, and it didn't work.
And it didn't work. I will just say again, I'm so sorry. Hayden Christensen apparently is a very nice man, but...
Oh, good.
Good for him. But it didn't work because he didn't land the subtleties of, like, Annie's ego or temper.
No.
It was just like, I'm monotone, I hate sand, I'm angry.
Yeah.
Ooh. And it was like, my dude.
Please.
I think they made an effort, like you said.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly the fault of Christensen.
Yeah.
That it didn't build the way it should have.
I don't know. Think of the seeds that they were supposed to be planting so that we would know that Anakin was evil.
Well, the genocide scene.
The genocide scene, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like...
well, and there was, like, moments where I feel like Obi was like, oh, your ego master.
Oh, wait. Maybe it would be more accurate to call it a massacre, but anyway.
It is more of a massacre because I don't think... obviously, there's still Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, he targeted a race, but it was more of it was less planned.
Yes.
And I don't know if genocide by definition has to be planned, but anyway.
Massacre. Anyway, so but yeah, the build to basically we were just watching this goofy kid fall in love, and then all of a sudden and they tried to anchor it. Oh my god, sorry, I just remembered.
It's so dumb.
They tried to anchor it with it. Him having the dreams about Padme.
Yes, fear of death.
The fear of death and fear of losing his loved one, which there was a nice little line in there about, like, I think that Yoda said. Did I write it down by any chance?
Fear leads to hate.
Or, like, having something to lose, basically, is you can't have something to lose, fear of losing something if you're a Jedi. Yoda says it.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. And I liked that line. It basically, like...
Learn to let go.
Learn to let go. Yes, and the path to darkness starts with, like, having something to lose.
Yeah, attachment.
Yeah. Which it's that then we have a little character development there, and, like, that he wasn't willing to sacrifice his wants and desires for the greater good of the Jedi or whatever. But still, with that, it felt like a very tiresome reach to turn into one of the most iconic villains ever in an
afternoon.
In an afternoon, and give up, Anakin. I have the higher ground. What? What?
Okay, Palpatine is a grade A fucking, like...
he's a creep
in this movie, and it's not subtle.
Yeah.
And he's not smooth, and also the acting and the dialogue in the fight scene between Palpatine, Anakin, and Mace Windu sucks. Because, like, just Palpatine
in line
pretends
with the rest of the film.
Palpatine pretends to die and then wakes up and goes, "Power! Ultimate power!" And it's so nothing.
It is so nothing. It is so cartoonish, which I mean, we are dealing with Star Wars, so
Sucks.
cartoonish is part of it.
Anyway, now I remember that Count Dooku dies in the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith, and I'll tell you why I remember that, because Palpatine got captured. Right now we think he is a chancellor and that he's doing it for the good of he's an Emperor Palpatine at this point, maybe. And he got kidnapped by Count Dooku, quote unquote kidnapped. And Anakin, has Dooku at the end of 2 lightsabers, and you better fucking believe that Palpatine is like, do it.
Yeah, he's like, nom, 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 nom,
Do it.
do it.
So
good impression.
Yeah, so Dooku's out, which means the only Sith Lord we get to see in this movie is Lord Grievous, who, as a child, I remember being way cooler than he is in this movie. You barely get to see him.
Yeah.
But he's like a 6-armed, sick android.
Yeah, / like bug person?
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it.
Yeah. Yeah. The movie actually, I feel like, does start off kind of strong.
Oh my god, yeah. Killing Count Dooku? Absolutely.
Killing Count Dooku. I also have written here, which is a quote from you, Kai.
Oh no.
R2-D2, don't touch me or I'll set you on fire.
That was something that happened in the opening scene, in which R2 is fucking with the mechanics of wherever they are. He's hacking it up. And when droids try and kidnap him, he releases a bunch of oil onto the ground that they're standing on, and then turns on his booster jets, which ignite a flame, set them on fire, and he flies away. Which
is very relatable for most of us.
Yeah, just like, don't touch me or I'll set you on fire.
Yeah, so please make that shirt. I'll buy it. Take my money. Also, in very close to this scene, we see Obi-Wan on Annie's back.
Oh my god, yes! You get a nice piggyback ride.
And it's very natural, and it's very cute.
Yeah,
I will say.
It's very sweet that he's helping his master. And this is what really bothers me about the end of the film, is because at the beginning of this film, he is ride or die for Obi-Wan.
He is ride or die, yep.
Yeah, like the Chancellor, I'm pretty sure, is like, if you try and save Obi-Wan, we're not gonna have enough time to get out of here. Like, we have to go. Like, let your master stay behind. Because he was injured and knocked out again. God, really a damsel in distress right now,
yeah.
Obi.
But constantly damseled.
Yeah, but Anakin's not having it. He's not letting his master die because he loves him so fucking much. He basically raised him.
Obviously.
So we get the piggyback of love.
The piggyback of love, coming soon to a Disney park near you.
Then we have Anakin has so much faith in R2-D2 and the droids, which is interesting. Like, you see this a bit in the Clone Wars TV show, but just in general, like, Anakin has a lot of love and empathy for droids, and he grows really attached to R2.
As you would.
Yeah,
adorable.
An adorable, sassy gay droid. Just not having any of C-3PO's shit.
No,
they
too fussy.
Yeah, gotta put him in his place. But what I find interesting about this is, maybe this is a very fucked up comparison, but it reminded me of the fact that Hitler was a vegetarian. Like,
whoa,
fully willing to kill human beings, but very empathetic towards.
He's like, I'm not a little cow.
Yeah,
that's not a German accent.
But
anyway.
very empathetic towards non-human entities. So the fact that Anakin is like, R2-D2's my best friend, but I will kill a man. Like, okay, strange.
And that speaks to a lot of white people, I feel like.
Oh yeah, just the prioritizing animals over human lives. But this is an imperfect comparison because, like, droids are people?
Yeah. But not seen as such. Yeah, it is an imperfect comparison. You're right. But yeah.
Droids are people too.
It is.
Droid rights.
Droid rights. Thank you, L3. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is true and something to note. But it's not that beautiful complexity that we get in Kylo Ren. It's just not, and it never will be. Okay, is there anything we wanted to say more, or should I say my next?
I have a note about R2 screaming and running, which is a mood. Oh, right. There's this whole scene where the ship gets turned over to the side, and they have to climb up an elevator shaft. Like, he has to do this with Obi-Wan on his back and with the Chancellor. And then once the ship gets put upright because of R2's meddling, R2 runs in, well, not runs, but like speeds into the room and smacks into a wall and is screaming. And I was just like, mood.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like that's how I enter most rooms. I'm just like, ah!
Yeah, it was a lot of that. I think I just have vague notes like the fight scenes have gotten better.
Fight scenes did get better. The Wookiee battle.
Yeah.
Definitely made my day.
Oh, yeah. The fact that we see Kashyyyk, like the fact that Yoda has relations and like good relationships with the Wookiees and that he's on Kashyyyk and we get to see Chewbacca. Like that is very, very cool in my opinion.
Yeah.
And just, the only other thing I have from the beginning of this is R2 and C3 reunite. So we get more gay husbands.
Yes. And it's a very joyful reunite. So... So a few notes before we kind of wrap up the summary of Revenge of the Sith. Rise of the Sith? Revenge of the Sith? I don't even fucking care anymore.
Revenge of the Sith.
I did say that Annie and Padme are why I think heterosexual relationships are inherently toxic. They're just, first of all, the fact that when they're talking to each other, it's like neither of them is actually hearing what the other is saying.
Oh my God.
The dialogue is so stilted and shitty and fucking horrible. It's like, oh, what's wrong, Annie? It was just a dream. Please tell me. He explains it, and then she goes, it was just a dream. Yeah, he fucking said that.
Yeah.
Just like, and the whole like, it's only because I am so in love. And he's like, no, it's only because I am so in love with you. And she's like, then love is blind. And he's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, what are you saying? I don't fucking know.
Whoever tried to write romance into this just did bad. I did better.
I almost feel like it was only gay writers that were trying to make heterosexual love seem real.
Bad? Oh, okay.
They were like,
this is how straights talk.
They're like, this is how straight people talk to each other, right? And it was like, close enough. Move on. What's C-3PO doing?
Yes! Give us the goods.
Yeah.
I'm scared by the amount of notes I have left because it's like 3. And there's a whole lot of movie I guess I just didn't zoned out for, I guess.
I mean, there's not so much to say about this movie. I wrote down a quote that I really like after I commented on how much I appreciated the Wookiee battle and it making this horrendous drudgery of a film feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I liked a quote that Padme said when she was like, so this is how liberty dies, with a thunderous applause.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really powerful, and a movie that was just drowning in the worst dialogue I had ever heard in my entire life. They managed to sneak one in. Good for them.
Yeah, so this is where I guess the Chancellor becomes Emperor.
And we're seeing it just be, and like she said,
great.
Met with great applause.
Yeah, very, very
everyone's
well
like,
received.
Great, dictator, we're here for it. Also, can we just talk about how they did sneak E.T. into one of the little pods in that room?
I wouldn't know.
The
I didn't see it.
alien was there.
Apparently that was an Easter egg I didn't see.
It's a fun little Easter egg that I really like Easter eggs, and that one was fun for me.
Good. Oh, I just have a note here. Honey, I hate it when we fight. Obi-Wan. I feel like this is directly after Anakin is throwing a shit fit after he realizes that he's on the Jedi Council, but he's not been promoted to a Jedi Master, the first time in history. And Obi-Wan is just like, sweetheart, just do this mission, and it'll be okay. You'll be a Master soon. You just have to just do this one thing for us. You just have to spy on the Chancellor who you love so much. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Like, just do a little thing that's a little double agent for us. Thank you, Annie. Love you.
Bye.
Meme.
Yeah, so at this point, the Jedi are getting very involved in politics because they can see the rise of a dictator, but, like, Anakin doesn't see it that way. He sees... Doesn't matter. Like, just, I got exhausted halfway through that sentence. The plot doesn't matter, and everything about this movie sucks.
Correct.
I've run out of
He's
notes.
Not wrong, folks.
I've run out of notes to find good things about this. Presumably C-3PO and R2 flirt some more.
I mean, I think we saw the last of their flirting. So basically this movie wraps up with Anakin being seduced by all of the ego and power of the dark side that the Chancellor is like spewing in his ear.
He thinks that Padme is gonna die and she's pregnant with twins.
Exactly. So he's like, okay, I'm being seduced by this thing. Also, Palpatine tells him that his master, Palpatine's master,
Darth Plagueis.
Ooh, deep cut. Love that. Found eternal life, and that he would tell Anakin what the secret to like bringing people back from the dead or like cheating death was, and Adam Driver, Anakin is what I meant to say.
It's fine.
Is like, great, sign me up. The Palpatine gives him a laundry list
after they kill Mace Windu, which like R.I.P.
Oh god, yeah, R.I.P. Mace Windu. His purple lightsaber.
Yeah, I love that he just like looked at George Lucas and was like, I know you only have blue and green, but you're gonna make this purple for me. And George Lucas was like, well, I guess we are. You're Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's power.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mace Windu dies. Anakin's like, great, I got my laundry list. I'm gonna kill all the babies. Because that's something that happens in this fucking movie, is they kill little fucking babies. That's fine.
In an afternoon, like, Anakin goes from loving his master and wanting to be a good Jedi boy, a Jedi master, to I will kill children to back-asswardly protect this man who says he's gonna help me save my wife.
My wife.
My wife and her 2 kids, except he doesn't seem that invested in her children.
No, he doesn't. Well, yeah, he doesn't seem to give a shit about anything but his own fucking self-interest, because he's a shit Jedi and he'd die anyway. So Anakin loses the higher ground. Pivotal moment after Obi-Wan I did skip the okay I wanted to just skip to the end of the movie because I'm getting fucking tired. So
yeah,
Anakin does meet up with Padme. Padme's like, oh, there's something wrong, and Anakin's like, no, and
you betrayed me. I see you're with Obi-Wan. You're against me. He chokes the fuck out of her. She passes out, and then she's in labor. Obi-Wan obviously takes care of her, but she dies of a broken heart, which is the stupidest shit
that ever happened in any movie ever. That to me speaks to so much fucking misogyny.
Yeah.
Of like a weak, lilting woman with all she ever does is love. It's all she waits for, and you take that away from her, and she just dies because
like a flower,
like a lilting flower. How could she possibly survive without Anakin? I can tell you how she fucking survives. She was a fucking queen. Thank you very fucking much. She knows shit. She's been smarter than him this whole time. I hate this movie.
Padme's death is one of the main reasons I avoid watching this movie whenever I like decide to rewatch Star Wars movies. I always skip Revenge of the Sith because I hate that Padme dies, and I hate that Anakin, like, the whole reason he pursued power is because he wanted to save Padme, and then as soon as he suspects Padme's betraying him, he's willing to almost kill her.
Yeah, like in the blink of a fucking eye. Anyway, he becomes Darth Vader. And
yeah, he fights
that's the story of Darth Vader, I guess.
Yeah, he fights Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan sends him into like some lava. He gets on fire, but Palpatine saves him just in time, and he becomes Darth Vader in like all of the machine bits. And it's particularly sad because Obi-Wan is just heartbroken that he has to like fight his Padawan, how much he loves him.
Yeah.
But
and it's literally, yeah, it's just literally so stupid because he's like, he like gets put in his Darth Vader costume and he's all like, and then he like steps
is
out.
Padme alive?
Yeah, he's like, is Padme alive? James Earl Jones, we wish. We wish that James Earl Jones was
there's this whole gripe where it's like, why isn't Darth Vader black? Why? Like, James Earl Jones voiced him from the get-go, and you didn't hire a black man. Okay, fuck you.
And James Earl Jones also, he's obviously going to be a better fucking actor than Hayden Christensen. Yes, I know he's too old to play young Anakin.
A young black man.
I don't fucking care.
Get a young black man who can do a good James Earl Jones impression.
Oh, but you literally hire Donald Glover for that job.
God, cute now.
Oh, he's good at impressions. Anyway, yeah, no shade. I absolutely adore Donald Glover, no shade. But, so the prequels, the most harrowing experience of my movie watching life.
Yeah.
When he steps out of the fucking thing as Darth Vader and is like, did Padme live? And then Palpatine's like, you killed her. He's just like, no. And then he's on the dark side. And I'm just like, bitch, really?
And in a way, this movie is also the death of sassy One Kenobi. We never see him again.
I know, until he's Ben later on in the fucking original Star Wars.
Yeah, he becomes Ben Kenobi, who is not sassy at all.
No sass. And we will talk about that casting in our episodes on the original Star Wars, which I'm so excited to do that, and not this.
I would even argue that they're not even that much better than the prequels, which people are going to come at me for. But they're obviously more watchable.
Way more watchable than the prequels.
Yeah.
100%. So, in conclusion, who was the gayest character in the prequels?
Okay, I will give you my nominations.
Okay.
So, number 1 nomination, C-3PO the Diva.
Of course.
Yeah. Number 2 nomination, Sassy One Kenobi.
Absolutely.
And, you know what? Those might be my top 2. I could give an honorable mention to Yoda.
I was just gonna say, I would throw in Yoda as my third.
Yeah, I would say third, definitely Yoda, in terms of his queer platonic relationship with Mace Windu. I do appreciate that.
She's got, like, queer elder energy,
Yeah,
too.
he's been through a lot.
He's been through a lot, and he's here to show the way to the others.
Yeah, I might just watch that scene alone and no other bit of Revenge of the Sith, but the idea of just him being like, attachment, you have to let go. You have to, the only way to love is to let go. It's like, yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love everything that Yoda does. Yoda is my...
Jealousy, never heard of her.
I just love little green monster, not Yoda.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually 100% agree with your take.
Woo!
Like, there is nothing I would say different. I think that definitely the reigning champ of queer representation in the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, would be C-3PO.
Yeah, he's such a fucking diva. He has such a love-hate relationship with R2. Like, he's constantly complaining about R2-D2, like, well, you know, why are you dragging my head? This hurts. But, like, he would be nothing without him, and he knows that. When R2-D2 is in trouble, he is always willing to do and give anything he can to save him, because he loves him. And he's his confidant, someone he can speak to on, like, an equal level. And he's also just, C-3PO is so fucking dramatic.
He's a very dramatic little droid, and we love that for
like,
him.
Yes, he wants to be treated like the queen he is.
Of course, obviously.
Yeah, he has human-cyborg relations. He speaks billions of languages. He should be treated as royalty. And then, yeah, I would say secondary, Sassy One Kenobi. Oh, also, I want to mention, we actually had a little bit of this conversation in the car ride over to Emma's place, and her mom was like, how can they have sex about droids? Being gay isn't about sex. It can be. But, like, C-3PO and R2-D2 don't have to fuck.
No, and I think that a lot of, like, for me and you personally, I think we're fucking tired of the idea of, like, every important relationship has to center around sex. I think that's bullshit. And that's why the Star Wars universe is very void of sex, but it doesn't have to be void of queerness.
No.
Like, queerness is separate from sex, which is something that, as millennial queers, we kind of have the privilege of separating out. And exploring that more as things get safer for us to do so. So, yeah. I think that's a good point to be made. Now, which character do you feel you see yourself most in?
Oh, definitely Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, like, Obi-Wan.
Sassy one.
Yeah, sassy one. He's very dry in humor. He tries to be as, like, logical and reasonable as possible, but he still has his emotional attachments. He just doesn't let them rule his life, which is I relate to heavily. So, like, for instance, he obviously had very strong feelings about Qui-Gon Jinn. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agreed to take on, like, being the master of this child. He obviously has attachments to this child because he's essentially raised him. Like, those are important parts of his life, but he chooses like what is best for the larger good when he can. He didn't kill like Anakin. He fought Anakin until Anakin couldn't fight anymore, and he couldn't really finish the job. And I think I would do the same. I think like if I knew that someone I loved deeply was going to potentially, you know, start a regime that killed the majority of the universe, I would maim them. I would try.
Good to know.
Yeah, but I don't think I could kill them.
Yeah.
And that, I think, really encapsulates a lot about Obi-Wan, other than the fact that he's just, like, sassy as fuck.
He does have a lot of sass. I'd say that, yeah, that feels accurate.
What about you? Are you still a C-3PO?
I want to say that I see, on a surface level, a lot of myself in C-3PO, but in a core level, I feel like I relate most to Padme.
Ah, I knew it.
Yeah, because, her hunger for like diplomacy and understanding kind of how things work, and like I'm just political by nature. I really enjoy politics, so it wouldn't be a stretch for me to be a politician and like relate to her on that level. And I really just feel like she, despite her storyline being so unfortunately written, what Natalie Portman brought to that role was a very autonomous character. Which I wouldn't say that I'm like that's the first thing anyone would notice about me, is that I'm like autonomous, but I really appreciate that she has a mind and dreams of her own, even if it's not like really explicitly said. It feels real in the performance that Natalie Portman gives, and I just feel like if you piss me off, I will turn my shirt into a crop top and kick your ass. So that's just, yeah, I feel like ultimately on a real self-identifying level, I relate most to Padme.
And not to call you out, but who among us has not had a white man that is our Achilles heel?
Listen, so and I was gonna add that in just as a self-drag of, and of course I would fall for a toxic man.
I mean, yeah, it's just bound to happen.
So I really relate to the fact that in how she's very fallible in that.
Yeah, that's her.
way.
That's her one weakness.
I'm sure she has others, but
Well, we'll never know.
that's her
She's fucking
biggest.
dead.
She's fucking
So-
dead, isn't she?
Oh, George Lucas!
And I would
Okay.
always name my kid Luke. That's a badass name.
Mhm.
Leia, but Luke is good. So
Mhm. Oh, right. And then Luke and Leia are born at the end of this movie and then sent to their respective homes, in which Leia gets adopted by presumably the King of Alderaan, because she then becomes a princess.
Organa.
Yeah. Princess Organa. And then Luke gets sent to his step uncle. Owen and
The woman.
I hate myself for not remembering.
I don't
this.
remember.
She has a-
We're both sexist.
She has a weird name. It's not Shmi. It's
Schmiegel.
Stop.
And that's the episode.
That's the episode.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us in this dissection, this belabored dissection of the worst Star Wars movies ever created. We will be back in our next episode talking about the original Star Wars series, and I'm more excited about that.
Yeah, we'll be in less pain.
We will be in less pain, and we get to talk about Carrie Fisher, which I'm always excited about.
Oh, for sure.
So thanks for joining us. Until next time.
Gay!